Luciana.
Good, perfect.
Okay, and I'm going to, I want to thank the Journalists and Writers Foundation for organizing this. I want to thank everybody.
Yeah, he's coming here with when I watched him. Yeah. Because of the microphone. Hey.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, great. Okay, hold it like this. So I want to thank the Journalists and Writers Foundation for organizing this. I want to thank everybody who's here to attend. I want to thank my panelists who raised very interesting and thought-provoking comments. I'm going to follow the tradition of Anna. I'm going to be the bearer of bad news. But I want to sort of see, we talk about sustainable development goals, and we need to do this in a certain context. The context is the context of reality. We want to be able to achieve our aspirational goals, but the way to achieve those aspirational goals.
It looks like we're going to kiss the microphone, but they're not. So, trust me.
Try to avoid that.
Yeah, trust me.
Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is that we have identified as the international community sustainable development goals. We need to achieve them, but how do we achieve them? How do we get to from where we are where we want to be? And that requires a geopolitical roadmap. We need to understand the world as it is today. It is difficult to understand the world as it is today because of a species level problem, and that is called information overload. Everyone on this planet is suffering from information overload. I won't speak for anybody else in this room, but I still remember the days when there were fewer sources of information. I remember the daily newspaper, and there were you had a choice between which paper you read. You had the evening news, the morning news. You had, something like Time Magazine maybe to read, or some competitor like Newsweek, and that was like weekly, and that was it. If you wanted more information, you had to, glance through encyclopedias, go to libraries. Barnes and Noble was not a thing just yet back then, and I'm only talking 35 years ago. And so the world was simple, and there were fewer sources of information. With the advent of the internet, followed by social media and now AI, in real time, you're having an explosion of information. The amount of information available is at levels that the human brain was not designed to process. So, and while that is one trend, there's another trend that is happening, which is the decline in analytical abilities. The ability to clearly analyze what is happening. And there's a conflation between when we talk, you'll notice even the best talking heads that come on TV or we're anywhere else, you will see them conflating what is happening with what ought to happen and back and forth. There isn't a serious attempt to actually say, okay, let's first figure out what's happening, and then we'll say, let's chart the course for the future based on where we are today. Add to that the problem of everything is become politicized, partisan politics, just the United States, it's everywhere in the world. There is a left-right spectrum, and even if you're not somewhere on that spectrum, you're still part of the conflict that's taking place at multiple levels in every single country. So what is happening is people aren't talking to each other. Pick up TikTok, pick up Twitter. People are screaming out there as if they're really arguing with their neighbor or something. There's nobody listening. And so this is a huge problem. So there's a problem that's not going to go away easily. This is the challenge of our times. When I was growing up as a kid in this very city, my parents used to worry about, am I going to go do drugs? Okay. And that was probably it. Now the problem is, I worry about my kids, whether they have the right information. Are they being persuaded by fake news? Are they being persuaded by ideology in the name of social science? So this is a real problem that we're not talking about, and there needs to be a bigger conversation. So that's at the species level. That's something that transcends borders. It is not limited to one area. The political debate in this country, as we get closer and closer to the election, is emblematic of what I'm trying to talk about. What I'm talking about. Everybody has, a way to explain away reality, and we're not really addressing it. Okay, so let's drop down from that meta narrative problem level to the level of states and nations and their conflicts. The last 30 years have seen different drivers of conflict, different, if you will, factors exacerbating geopolitical conditions. Someone mentioned over here, Francis Fukuyama and the end of history. That was a great time. Life was much simpler. We thought, okay, the Soviet Union has imploded, and the world will be one nice democracy that everybody will sort of, sing kumbaya or something like that. That didn't happen. It was not. That was wishful thinking. The reality is that what we have is fragmentation at all levels. The nation state as an entity that emerged out of the degree of World War I and World War II in many parts of the world is either failing or has completely failed already, which is why you have conflict. So the idea that that there is an international rules-based order, while that is true and was built post World War II, and the United Nations, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, this entire super architecture, what is still there is still doing valuable work, but the problems of the world are multiplying. So you now have, if you see an arc of crisis extending from on the southern, if you will, tip of the Eurasian supercontinent. This is what Zbigniew Brzezinski back in his day, a former national security official in the Carter administration, was identified as an arc of crisis. So you have, if you start from Southeast Asia and you look at Myanmar, Myanmar now has 5 rebel groups that are holding territory in different parts of the country and is challenging the regime. You move forward, you have the problems in Bangladesh. You move on. India is at the same time a rising geoeconomic player, the 5th largest economy. That's a fantastic, if you will, demonstration of development, but it has its challenges. And I'm out of time, so I'm not going to get into that. We keep moving westwards, and you go to Afghanistan, you go to Iran, the Middle East, and we make the full 360 with Russia and China. There are multiple problems, and the institutions that are supposed to be dealing with this just don't have it at present to be able to deal with these challenges, which is why there's a need for out-of-the-box thinking. We're still stuck in the old paradigms, and there's a need for new, fresh thinking that is not bounded by certain sort of disciplinary constraints, and certainly not confused by the information problem that I identified earlier. Thank you.